On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about From Mars to Sirius by Gojira. He's not a giant lizard. It's just a bunch of French dudes.
Right.
Let's do it. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bronze Medalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
And today we are wrapping up Death Metal December with an album that the more I listen to it, the less good I feel about putting in Death Metal December. But,
it really qualifies as a progressive death metal album.
I suppose.
It does actually qualify.
There is enough death metal in the progressive that I think we can fit it. So we're talking about Mars to Sirius by Gojira today. It's an album that I got introduced to over the summer and through memes, actually. So I'm happy to be talking about it today. But we've had a busy week. This episode's going to be coming out a little late. Things have been busy. The weather's been terrible.
Yeah, terrible. Wednesday night, when we usually do this, we had a big snow event.
Yeah, that was not great driving Wednesday night here in Old Nodak. So we postponed, and then last night I had some dungeoning and some dragoning to be doing, some dungeoning and some mastering to be doing, a little bit of mixing and some mastering too.
You were a mix master.
Yeah, I was a mix. I had an album to record and a Dungeons and Dragons game to play at the same time.
What are you gonna do?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not a sound engineer.
No. Well, kind of you are.
Sort of. And in the very loosest sense of the word. I apply no mathematical concepts to my understanding of audio production.
Very little. You look at the dB. Looks like let's add 3
well,
dB
it's not distorting, so I guess it's good. And even then, there is usually still some clipping involved every once in a while. A little bit of clipping, it happens. If you got electric guitar, that's what you want.
A little bit of clipping makes it warm.
Yeah. Or a lot of clipping makes, just regular distorted guitar sounds.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Essentially.
I'm smart. So yeah, sorry we're late. We other things happened like the birth of our Savior, Jesus Christ. It was Christmas, of course, last week, and yeah, not last. It was this week. Christmas was this week. It feels like it's been a goddamn month since we've done this shit.
I know.
It feels like it's been so long. So
a week and a half.
Chuckmas came and went. Christmas came and went. How was your Christmas?
It was good. Had a good time. Family came down from Canada. And
from Canada.
From Canada. C-A-N-A-D-A. Yeah.
The other France.
Uh-huh.
The other, that's what they call it, right? The other France.
No, it's not at all what they call it. What are we having this evening?
We have got some Crazy Woman mead, which is made by Big Lost. It's a meadery out of Gillette, Wyoming. I really like their stuff. This is a mead with hibiscus in it.
Hibiscus and hops.
I brought that to Thanksgiving. I brought a bottle of that with, and I liked it quite a bit. Seemed to go over well. And I hadn't really had much flavored mead before.
Right,
but it's a good one. I also, one of my Christmas gifts is this empty bottle of mead that's over here, which is mead that's made in Fargo, and I happen to have drank all of it over the last couple of nights. But yeah, so I know your wife got you. Well, she got you money to get Yeehaw Skyrim.
I did get Yeehaw Skyrim.
You got Yeehaw Skyrim.
Oh, such a beautiful game.
We're talking about Red Dead Redemption 2, by the way. If you didn't figure out my Yeehaw Skyrim. Yeah, I got 2 vinyl records from my older sister. I gave her a list of 6 different records she could choose from.
These records are acceptable.
Yes, these are acceptable. My main thing was they're in production and they're on Amazon, so they won't be ridiculously expensive. Because I tried looking at vinyl for the album we're talking about tonight, and it was $105.
So that
was not something that I was going to ask for. But what I did end up getting was number 1, Rivers of Nile, Where Owls Know My Name. I now have that on vinyl. I'm very happy about that.
That has to come up every single one of these.
Yes, it does.
Which is
well,
fine.
it was going to come up later anyway, even if I hadn't got that, because I'm going to be talking about my favorite albums from this year.
Which I did not compile.
That's all right. That's all right. We can
Yeah.
just talk about general stuff, or I
Yeah.
can talk about mine. That's whatever.
We can make it about you.
Yeah, we'll make it about me. I always make it about me. I'm a horrible, selfish person. But more about me. About the other thing I got. Lift Your Skinny Fists Like Antennas to Heaven by Godspeed You Black Emperor. I really like that band, and I'm happy to have that on vinyl. I wanted to talk about my year-end list of my favorite albums that came out this year.
That is.
And I put 6 there because 2 of them are kind of interchangeable. So number 1, I have Sister Cities by The Wonder Years, which for those of you who know me or have paid attention when I talk about my favorite bands shouldn't be all that surprising. The Wonder Years is by default my favorite band, or at least it's the best I can come up with, because it's like, oh, I like this. When I listen to the Wonder Years, it's like I like everything about this.
Sure.
And I like pretty much every song on most of their records.
It's
so.
not really metal.
Oh, no, it's absolutely not.
No.
It's absolutely not metal. Sister Cities is not even, I wouldn't even really call it pop punk anymore. Sister Cities is much more like an indie rock record, I think. The earlier stuff were like hardcore leaning pop punk type stuff. They've been getting more and more indie as they've gone along, and I think this one is sort of where they found a good equilibrium. I think maybe the one previous to Sister Cities, it kind of felt like they didn't quite know where they wanted to take their sound, because they just finished like a trilogy of albums, and this was sort of the first album after that and moving into new stuff, and it was maybe a little rough, I don't know, but this one was very concise. It makes me cry a lot. And I liked it. Pretty much all of the albums on my list are albums that
Make you cry?
not necessarily make me cry, but affect
okay.
me emotionally. That's
Sure.
like critically speaking, when I'm thinking about like, what albums that I personally rate the highest, it almost always tends to be albums that have some sort of emotional impact. I tend to value that for personal listening more than I do, technicality and songwriting. I tend to gravitate towards more emotional songs. The next 2 down, both, I think they could be switched around. Of course, I have Where Owls Know My Name by Rivers of Nile.
That came out this year?
That came out this year. That came out March of 2018.
Oh, wow.
And that one could be in number 3, but it could also be in number 2. I have definitely listened to it more than the next one down, but that's simply because it's been out longer.
Sure.
So the next one down is When the End Began by Silent Planet.
Oh, sure.
I really love Silent Planet. Haven't had quite as long to listen to it. There are some songs on the record that I don't gravitate as much towards.
You haven't connected with them yet.
Yeah, there are. And Where Owls Know My Name is kind of that same way too, where like there's like 5 songs that I have in heavy rotation, where the other stuff I don't tend to listen to as much. But I really like it. Another album that makes me cry, When the End Began. Number 4, I put Holy Hell. I enjoyed it a lot. I actually haven't listened to it very much recently.
Really?
I haven't re-listened to that one a lot recently.
We've done that on the podcast.
Yeah. We did Holy Hell on the podcast, yes. Then number 5 is Ordinary Corrupt Human Love by Deaf Heaven.
By Deaf Heaven, yeah. I
have that one on vinyl, and I really enjoy that album. It's good, like chill metal. It's like a post metal type thing, and it's just pretty. I like the way it sounds. It's relaxing. Then next one down, I put 6 just because 2 and 3 were interchangeable, and I put Vortex by a band called Tundra. They're sort of a post-rock, post-metal type band from Spain, and I don't know, I just really dig that. It's one of I was trying to think of like a straight post-rock record that has come out this year that I really enjoyed, and I think Tundra is the one that put that one out. I like, there's another band that I listen to a lot called This Will Destroy You. They also put out a record this year. They put out 2 records this year, actually. One was a part 1 and the other one was a part 2.
Sure.
And I liked those, but not quite as much. Like the Tundra one is just heavier and there's more stuff going on, and I liked that. I don't know.
Whereas This Will Destroy You, they were recorded at the same time, I suppose.
I imagine. I don't know. I haven't quite looked into that. But the This Will Destroy You one, they're almost like instead of being a part 1 and a part 2, they might as well be 2 completely different albums. Like New Others Part 1 is much more in the vein of like their early work, where it's a lot more chill, and then New Others Part 2 seems to be slightly more lo-fi almost. Maybe that's just the intro, and then it almost kind of felt like B-sides.
Okay.
So I don't know. That's kind of why it's on this list, because I just don't really know how I feel about it yet. Those two albums are fairly new as well. That's 2 months ago maybe that they came out.
Okay.
But yeah, that's my year-end list. I've got Sister Cities, Where Owls Know My Name, When the End Began, Holy Hell, Ordinary Corrupt, Human Love, and Vortex. All good stuff. All stuff I'd recommend.
See, and there's the issue there is that I'm old, and so
there
I don't.
has to be a couple, like at least one of the bands, like there has to be some thrash band that put out a record this year. Was there a new Megadeth record this year? Was there a new Anthrax record? I feel like or was it Megadeth or Anthrax that put out like an album last year?
But with Anthrax put out an album
last year.
They did, and it was good.
Okay, so a little late, and there's your year-end list.
Yeah, sure.
There were a couple of albums that I was like, did that come out this year? And it turned out it was late 2017. Trying to think of particularly which one. There was there's a band called Aaron West and the Roaring Twenties, which is kind of cheating because it's a side project of Dan Campbell from the Wonder Years. But they put out a single. Wasn't really an album. They put out a single in November that I really, really liked.
Was it a single? Did it come out on?
Yes, it was a single. No, it was. Well, I think it was. They released like a limited edition 45 or something originally, and then about a month later it ended up on Spotify. But I'm trying to remember the other one, and I can't. So that's it for that, I suppose. I had some coffee, so I'm slowly recovering, but God, I've been so fucking tired today.
Well, yeah, because you're neighbors.
Yeah. You can talk loud. I want them to hear. Loud. I want them to hear how fucking displeased I am. So yeah, at about midnight, I start hearing some rambling, some yelling. Obviously, there seems to be some rambunction going on out there.
They're throwing a rager?
I don't know if it was a rager. I didn't hear any music, but I did hear a lot of yelling, and it seemed to be drunken, and it didn't seem angry for the most part.
Is rambunction a word? Rambunction?
It is now.
You know what it means.
Yeah, you get it. And that went on intermittently for about 2 hours. It wasn't constant. And I didn't know which apartment it was originating from. I didn't know. Well, it was in the hallway.
Right.
I knew that, but I didn't know who was responsible ultimately. So otherwise I would have called the police, but it was like, I feel like they're going to want to know which apartment they should go to, and I don't know.
All of those guys.
All those. If you see them in the hallway, then then give them a ticket. It's like
give them the what for.
Yeah, I can't do that. And they'd be yelling for like 5 minutes and talking really loud in the hallway, and then they would leave and go do something. I would hear them go downstairs and doors slam and cars drive away. And then 10 minutes later, they'd be back, just as I was about to fall asleep. And that continued till about 2 o'clock. And finally, it seems like people went home. So I don't know what the fuck was going on a Thursday night that had to happen. But I was like, how much angrier do I need to get before I barge out into the hallway naked and tell them to shut the fuck up?
And you have weaponry. You have.
I do. But I don't want to be that guy I don't want to seem that crazy. I just want to see him a little crazy.
You don't want to know you don't want them to know just exactly how crazy you are.
Yeah.
You want them to still feel safe living here.
Yeah, I want there to be some mystery. I don't want them to think, oh yeah, that guy down the hall has axes. He's definitely, crazy murderer.
And we saw his wiener.
And not just he's definitely a murderer, and he's
I said you were going to go out there naked.
Well, yeah, because spoilers, I usually sleep in the buff.
Really?
And I don't know why. It's just comfortable. And I live alone, so who gives a shit?
You have no roommates.
I have no roommates.
Although I've done that, by the way, when I did have roommates.
slept naked with roommates?
Well, no.
I have too, but like in apartments previously, I've also had locks on my doors.
Sure.
So,
but I've come downstairs and done the thing that you threatened to do in a way, not quite.
Not entirely naked,
I was naked, but I didn't have an axe or anything. They were throwing a party downstairs in our house that we lived in.
Okay.
And it was loud, and I got to get up and go to work really early in the morning. And I kept coming down. Hey guys, yeah, buddies, could you keep it down a bit? Could you tear it down a tick? And so finally I came down completely naked and said, "Look, I'm trying to get a tight, 40 winks in here.
I'm trying to get a tight 2 hours here." Yeah, for me, it was kind of to the point where I wasn't sure. Obviously, the better option is to just go out there and say, "Hey, guys, I'm happy you're having a good time, but if you could please keep it down. Other people live here, and they have to go to work tomorrow, and they would like to sleep."
And that's when they try to kick your ass. You realize that? I mean,
yeah, I feel like that is the point where, and that's the balance where it's like, I don't know these guys. I don't know, what they're like and what their behavior patterns are like. So I don't know if they're going to be polite.
No, clearly they make poor choices.
Yeah. So or maybe they just think that they're not being as loud as they are being. And if I'm like, "Hey, we can all hear you, shut the fuck up," they'll be really embarrassed. Maybe that's the type of person they are.
Maybe.
I don't know that. I don't know any of that.
I'm doubtful.
So the best option is if I knew. The best option would be knowing who the fuck is doing it and just calling the cops and letting them deal with it because they're professionals and they get paid to do that sort of thing. So not deal with it myself and get myself into trouble.
I saw you get stuck in a chair earlier, so I don't know. I don't know how well you'd be.
That's a good point.
In tune with dealing with that situation.
Hey, if I had an axe and I was naked, that chair wouldn't have stood a fucking chance. I have always held if I am like getting mugged or maybe not getting mugged, but if I know I'm about to get in a fight that I don't want to get into, but it's like, this person really wants to fight me and I don't want to fight them.
You get naked.
Yeah, just get stripped completely naked and start like growling and screaming and acting.
Nobody's going to fight the naked guy.
Nobody wants to fight the naked guy doing death growls. Maybe I should carry around a bottle of baby oil and just, strip naked and just lube myself up. Nobody wants to fight a slippery naked guy.
No.
No one wants to fight the slippery naked guy singing Cannibal Corpse songs.
Hey, is that fucked with a knife that he's growling?
That sounds like no. What you need to do is sing "I Come Blood."
There you go.
That's what you have to do.
I Come Blood.
This next song is about shooting blood out of your cock.
All right, I think it's about time. I don't have a good segue from that.
Well, there
bit.
is no good segue.
There's no good segue from that bit into the rest of the album or the rest of the podcast. Today, as I said in the intro, we're talking about From Mars to Sirius by Gojira. Gojira is a French band from Bayonne, France. I think it's Bayonne. 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 Oui, oui. Baguette.
Look at mine.
So, Gojira was founded, I believe, in 1998. I want to say, or maybe a little bit earlier. It progressed from just sort of Joe and Mario Duplantier. They're brothers. Joe is the vocalist and the rhythm guitarist, and Mario is the drummer. And just the band that they sort of formed together as brothers playing music ended up being called Godzilla.
Right.
And then in 2001, they changed it to Gojira, which is based
for copyright reasons, or
possibly, but I think it maybe is just because Godzilla just sounds a little. Gojira sounds a little bit classier, maybe.
A little bit classier, and at the same time, a little bit racist.
Maybe also possibly, but they're definitely not those. I don't think it's it's definitely not for that reason because they seem like pretty good guys, pretty cool guys.
So like decent fellas.
They seem like decent fellas. Gojira just sounds a bit more cultured, possibly. Sure. But anyway, they changed their name to Gojira in 2001. They are, I think, overall, I just say a progressive metal band, but some of their works can definitely be classified as progressive death metal or, maybe just death metal or that sort of thing. Some of it can almost be called thrash metal, I've heard, or like progressive thrash or something like, I don't know if progressive thrash really exists, but...
Yeah, well, there's progressive thrash. Oh,
okay.
That's a thing.
That's a thing?
Yeah.
All right. They started calling themselves that, and that's what they play. In 2005, they came out with this album, From Mars to Sirius.
Has it been that long?
It has been that long.
13 years.
From Mars to Sirius, I think, is most widely regarded as possibly their best album. I think it's, especially for when it came out in their discography, I think it has a much higher production value than anything that came before it, and really almost what comes after. Not that the albums that they've made since have been bad by any measure, but like
they just haven't been the leap forward that this one was.
Yeah, this one I think was a big leap forward for them.
Yeah.
And it's it's a concept album, I suppose. It is about they're in a world. It's another death metal concept album on a Kale episode that starts with "In a World."
Weird. How unusual.
There's a trend. So there's this planet, and there's some people that live on it. And as we learn in the final song called Global Warming, 400,000 years ago, some whales came from space and were like, hey, this is how you live good. And this is how you treat your planet right. You do this, you're going to be okay. And the people said, thanks, space whales. And space whales took off. They apparently forgot how to do the good stuff, and their planet died or started to die.
Sure.
And so now, in the modern age of the album, a fella, he's got to go on a space adventure to find these flying whales and learn their ways and bring them back to his home planet and I guess teach everyone how to life good again.
Once again, I think we talked about this earlier, that it actually sort of mirrors the plot of Star Trek 4.
Yeah, we were talking about that at work, and it's sort of embarrassing because I thought about it after I announced to OJ what my experiment that I was going to do with watching it synced up to a movie. Granted, I haven't seen Star Trek 4 before, so
sure.
It might not have had the same impact because I mostly would have watched it without sound or dialogue.
Right. And a lot of Star Trek 4 is a little bit, there's some silliness to it. Because they go back in time.
Yeah, well, I mean, time travel's always been an element of Star Trek.
Yeah.
But it's always been kind of interesting to see the way that, it's like Star Trek does, for the different time periods Star Trek has been made, it always does a pretty good job of making, the futuristic sets look futuristic.
Right.
But then when they do a period episode that is supposed to take place in the past where they time travel, it always looks pretty weird. It doesn't look right.
Right.
It's like, oh, that's Data, and he's dressed up as Sherlock Holmes. That doesn't... the costumes don't look nearly as good.
Are we on the holodeck? What is,
Yeah. We're on the holodeck right now, OJ.
Are we really?
Yeah.
This is just a simulation?
This is just a simulation. You're not even real. You're a part of the computer. I'm the real one.
No.
And I'm totally not saying that to make you doubtful.
Don't worry. I know you're not real.
Anyway. That hit me hard, bro.
No.
Yeah, so Star Trek 4 would have been a better movie to watch this synced up with. Like I mentioned last week, I had an idea inspired by a podcast called Till Death Do Us Blart, which is a podcast done by the guys from My Brother and Me, and another podcast called The Worst Idea of All Time, where the five of them watch Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 once a year for the rest of linear time. And when
Whether
one of them...
they need to or not.
Yeah. They will watch it every year on Thanksgiving. And when one of them dies, they will be replaced. So hopefully, 300 years from now, there will be a completely different set of people that have to try and figure out how to, put Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 on Hollow Brain. And it will be beautiful, and then they will record it in an audio format for people to listen to.
And what they did is they actually synced it to Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd.
Or what one of them did. Griffin McElroy synced up Paul Blart. That's just how the movie is. It's blah, blah.
Swedish Chef. Yeah.
It's gross and nasty. But anyway, so he synced that movie up to Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. And I thought, well, what if I took a movie that I liked instead of a movie that I hated and watched it synced up to this album that I like a lot? And so I decided to watch Fury Road, Mad Max Fury Road. And I have a couple of justifications as to why I watched specifically that movie.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, well, this album is conceptually about a dying planet, and in Mad Max Fury Road, the planet is already dead.
Right.
It's sort of about birth and bringing life back to this dead world. So I thought that sort of lined up conceptually. It's also a movie that already has a heavy soundtrack.
Sure.
So as movies are, they are often edited to soundtracks and rhythmically. So I thought that would work well. Given that the soundtrack is already heavy, it should match the tempo a little bit better.
There's a dude with a guitar that shoots flames.
There's a dude with a flamethrower guitar.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. What better movie to watch with a heavy metal album?
And the verdict is?
It was not earth-shaking. It was, we got earth-shaking riffs, but no earth-shaking revelations here from Mars to Sirius, synced up with Mad Max Fury Road. Another justification that I had for watching it is something that Joe Duplantier said, where about the title. In a lot of cultures, Mars, especially cultures that have a link to the Roman Empire, Mars is their version of Ares, who's the god of war. Sirius, I can't remember specifically which god that is linked to for Greek parlance, but Sirius represents peace. And so another idea of the album is going from war to peace. And that's sort of what Mad Max is about as well. You've got this very violent world, but they're trying to bring peace back to it. It's, predominantly female main cast, besides Max, who's not even really the main character of the movie.
Well, no, Furiosa.
Furiosa is absolutely the main character of the movie. You've got those awesome old ladies. You've got all the great the wives or the mothers, and so that's I thought that might be interesting, but again, there were some interesting points where things did sync up a little bit. I'm drinking my meat out of a horn because I'm a nerd. But I have a little Lego stand that I built to hold my horn.
With a paper towel in it.
With a paper towel, so I do not scratch the keratin. So I wrote down on two separate pieces of medium my notes, because at first I was writing it on my digital boogie board here, and I ran out of room very quickly.
Sure.
So I wanted to write down interesting points where things kind of synced up, where there was like a cool moment
in the movie with the album.
In the movie with the album playing. I hit play right, not right when I hit play on the machine to get the movie playing. I hit play on the album, I believe, when he says, "My name is Max," which is right at the start of the movie. And so I hit roll on the first song, Ocean Planet, and there is a good moment right in the midpoint of Ocean Planet. There is a cool riff that matches up, or there's a riff change, like a tempo change, right at the second that Max's interceptor gets trashed, and it starts rolling and doing a death roll essentially.
Right.
So that was cool, and I thought, okay, this might be going well, and then. Like, I took really detailed notes at the start, and then as the movie went on and on, I took less and less and less, because there felt like there was less moments. The very end of the song for Ocean Planet, it gets a little crazy at the end, I think, and that also happens right when Max is trying to escape, or before he's trying to escape, and they're shaving him and they're tattooing his back.
Right.
And then the end of the song is when he's running away and fighting them and getting attacked by his own hallucinations. The title card came up, like the title card with the cool brand, and that came up on the opening riff for Backbone,
nice.
Which is also the moment we see Furiosa. So I thought that was pretty cool, because Backbone is probably the heaviest song on the album, I'd say.
It's either that or the one that actually sounds like it would be the heaviest song on the album, which is the
heaviest matter
universe.
In the universe. Yeah. Backbone, I think, is the most death metal song on the album, I'd say. Maybe not the heaviest, but definitely the most death metal. And so that was cool. Let's see. The line "Fear and Madness they try to cultivate" happens on the reveal of Immortan Joe, which was pretty cool because that's his whole shtick. He's, making everyone afraid of him, and he's got this cult of personality that surrounds him, a literal cult of personality. And so I thought that was kind of cool. Strength flowing through me is on a Furiosa shot where we see her, and Furiosa's a very strong character.
Yes.
I thought that was interesting. The trucks hit the gas pedals and take off right at the start of From the Sky. It was actually almost beat perfect when the trucks start moving and the song started. So that was cool. Let me open up my sketchbook where I wrote. So I wrote it
you
in
can
my
find the page.
Yeah, if I can find the page where I wrote it. It's on one of these marks that I have, or the mark that I have here, or nearby to it. Okay, here we go. So the reveal of the Doof Warrior, that is the name of the fella with the flamethrower guitar. That happens.
You said there's a subtitle there.
What?
You said there's a subtitle because you were watching it with the volume down.
Oh, yeah.
Very.
Well, that was later on in the movie. The reveal of the Doof Warrior is actually during a slow, soft part of From the Sky, I believe. So it actually did not fit at all. It was
the opposite of fitting.
It was really disappointing. It's like, there's the Doof, and it's a slow part. Okay. Where Dragons Dwell is a pretty heavy song. That happens during the buzzard chase scene, which is the Russian guys with all the spikes on their cars. That fit pretty well. Heaviest Matter of the Universe happens right when Nux pulls that awesome 180, and he starts driving backwards in the sandstorm in front of the war rig.
Awesome.
That is actually pretty perfectly on the opening riff of Heaviest Matter in the Universe, which is also an extremely heavy opening riff. So that worked really well. And that was all in the middle of the sandstorm scene. So that it looked really good with that. Later on, right after the sandstorm scene, when the rest of the war party is taking off, that is when I saw that bracketed subtitle with the Doof Warrior playing a riff to get everybody amped up to start driving again, and that was right there. Although it wasn't, I feel like a lot of the songs while I was watching felt like they were either a minute too soon or a minute too late for a lot of the scenes that they would have matched up to better.
So what you're saying is they didn't
match up at all.
They didn't.
Some of them did, but
they didn't think this over.
Yeah,
when they were making the movie, they didn't think.
They didn't think, hey, let's listen to this go. What I'm trying to remember the director's name.
Yeah, it's escaping me as well.
Not Frank Miller. That's the comic book artist. Something Miller though.
Barney Miller.
Barney Miller. Yep. Frank Miller? No, I said Frank Miller before.
You already did.
Steve.
John Terry
Mellencamp. Anyway, the director, this old Australian man didn't say, hey, let me listen to this progressive death metal album so I can match it up to this movie.
When Arthur Miller was making his movie.
Arthur Miller. I cannot remember his name.
It's escaping me as well.
But anyway, let's see here. Oh, when Splendid, who's Rosie Huntington Whiteley, or Whitley, when she falls off the of the war rig and gets run over by the monster truck, that happens right when right at the start of the song Global Warming.
Okay.
Which I thought was interesting. And then the scene that follows after that, when we hear Joe saying, "We will see our children growing," happens during the C-section scene. When the doctor is cutting her open to see if the baby's still alive. So I thought that was kind of cool. Now starts what I call side 2, which is the second playthrough of the album. And part of the other reason that I chose Mad Max Fury Road is because it has a 2-hour runtime. So I thought that would be enough. It didn't quite work. I got about 2/3 of the way through the next play of the album before the movie ended. When the bullet farmer he's got his two I can't remember if they're MP5s or UMPs, but he's got his 2 H&K submachine guns and he goes, "Sing, brothers, sing." That is on the heaviest part of the song Ocean Planet, which I thought was pretty cool. Furiosa, when she has that moment of despair, that beautiful shot of Charlize Theron on the top of a sand dune when she screams up into the sky. That actually matched up pretty well with the song From the Sky in a moment where Joe screams. So
there you go.
That looked pretty good, or that seemed pretty good. The first time around, the song Unicorn, I believe, is the one that was playing when we saw the Doof Warrior and fit terribly.
Fit not at all.
But the second time around, because Unicorn is like a slow interlude,
right.
It fit very well with a pretty slow and tender scene that happened later. Then I just wrote in there in brackets heavy metal riff plays, which I thought was hilarious. The first part of the last chase scene, well, the whole movie's a chase scene, but the first part of the when they turn back and start getting chased, that is when the heavy part of Flying Whales, or no, wait,
George
not
Miller.
quite. That was George Miller. Thank you. That was Heaviest Matter of the Universe when that or Heaviest Matter in the Universe. That started playing during the first part of the chase scene. And then the moment when Slit, who's the asshole with the fucked up mouth, or Nux's buddy, and Max's poor interceptor, the awesome heavy opening riff of Flying Whales is playing right when he gets smashed between the two semi-trucks. If you've never seen Mad Max Fury Road, this all sounds like complete fucking nonsense to you.
And you just had it all spoiled for you.
You just have also had it all spoiled for you. So yeah, sorry. But if you haven't seen Mad Max Fury Road, what are you doing with your life? Go watch
it's not
that
a new movie. Yeah.
Good Lord, that movie's fantastic. It's 3 years old at this point. Go see that movie. It's so good. Let's see. Oh, the drums, the fight on the doof wagon with the drums on the back and the doof warrior on the front. That happens, I believe, also during Flying Whales. It happens during the heavy part of Flying Whales when Max is on the doof warrior's rig. So that fit pretty well. And then the song World to Come was the last song that played, which that matches up fairly well with the ending of the movie. This idea that they're going to fix the world, and the song is called World to Come, and that sort of has a hopeful-ish sounding riff that plays in the intro of it, and so I thought that was a fairly decent match. There is a song, or there's a line in there that says "Sitting by a lake," that starts right about when the water begins to flow freely at the end of the movie. So there are some moments. But it's more kind of like coincidence rather than epiphany.
Well, it's always coincidence.
Yeah, it is always coincidence. Although I think there probably are some movies that were legitimately edited to Dark Side of the Moon.
I don't think that's a thing.
I feel like
that's not a thing.
I feel like it is.
So do you think The Wizard of Oz was edited to The Dark Side of the Moon? Because one came out decades before the other.
I believe more than decades, like 50 years.
Well, Dark Side of the Moon was 1973, right?
Yeah, and Wizard of Oz was 40 years.
Yeah,
this is the 30s. But anyway, I think maybe there are some movies like editors got to listen to something while they edit if they don't have the soundtrack of the movie just yet. So,
and Alan Parsons says he didn't. He had no idea.
Yeah. So, anyhow,
who edited Dark Side of the Moon?
There's nothing earth-shaking in there. I just thought it would be a fun experiment, and it went all right. I mean, it's a good album. It's a good movie. Sometimes when you have that thought of like, oh, I really like this thing, and I really like this thing, let's put these two things together, it doesn't always turn out to be the wonderful experience you had hoped it to be.
I love bacon. I love chocolate.
But yeah, so I really like March to Sirius. I've been talking a lot for a while. What is your favorite part of this album?
My favorite part of the album...
Your favorite thing about it?
My favorite thing about it is how catchy the riffs are. The riffs are all very catchy, especially the aforementioned most popular song off the album, Flying Whales. Very popular and very catchy.
They're catchy, but they're unconventional, which is two things that don't really go together very often.
And they do it very well.
Yes.
They do unconventional and catchy very well.
Like the riffs are kind of it's off time chugging, I guess, but it's like,
almost math rock. But
it is still I mean, that's the progressive element there,
sure.
is that they don't use typical time signatures, but they still somehow I think it's catchy by virtue of being so fucking heavy. I really think that is the case, because these are Gojira before I ever listened to a Gojira record, what I knew about them is they write really, really, really heavy riffs. I knew that much. And then I listened to Flying Whales, and I was like, yeah, that's right. That's accurate.
It is. That's accurate.
That's a very heavy riff right there.
And the song starts out very slowly.
Yeah, very slow.
It
ambient
eases
guitar,
in. Yeah.
some ambient bass, a little bit. Whale noises. And then it's if you listen to no other song off of this album, listen to Flying Whales. I think it is the highlight of the album, but I think there's a lot more that this album has to offer. I think if you want something that's a little bit softer, I think Global Warming is, for the most part, a fairly chill song. Global Warming is like a whole song of sort of the intro of Flying Whales, basically. And I enjoy that a lot. I like this album a lot. It's fun.
That's why we're talking about it.
That's why we're talking about it, because we like it. Baby, I like it. Yeah, what else do we have to say about From Mars to Sirius?
It's $100 on vinyl.
Yeah, it's $100 on vinyl if you want to get it.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that. I think the reason was that they only did limited prints. They've done 2 limited prints. They did one when it came out, and then one for the 10-year anniversary a couple years ago.
Right.
And so
when Prince was producing this, he was very limited in his scope.
Well, yeah, and in 2015, he didn't have much longer to go.
No, he didn't.
When did he died in 2016, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
In April, I believe.
Yeah, that was the year that all the celebrities got taken from us.
Yeah. Where every other week we're going, no!
Not them! And it sucked because so many of them were like, really? They weren't that old. Like, Prince or David Bowie. There's Prince. How old was Prince? Like 60?
No,
not even.
Not even. He's like 55.
Yeah, and Bowie was 69. 69, okay. Lemmy was also 69.
He was 70.
Lemmy was 70.
He made it to 70.
I think it was only a couple weeks after his birthday, though.
It was like a week after his birthday, yeah.
So he barely made it to 70 with Lemmy. And everyone was surprised when everyone was like, wait, Lemmy actually died? Thought that was impossible. If his drinking habits hadn't killed him already.
Drinking and drugs and just
Good
lifestyle
Lord.
in general.
I'm kind of like every year, it's like I'm terrified for Ozzy Osbourne. Because it's like, how much longer? How much longer? I feel like all the drugs he has done in his life is actually what is keeping him alive.
It's preserving him. Yeah.
It's preserved him. Same thing with Keith Richards.
Although apparently he doesn't even drink anymore.
Keith Richards?
Yeah.
Well, I don't blame him. He's like, I feel like if he touches anything that is remotely harmful to the human body, he will disintegrate.
I think he still smokes.
Okay. So, if he stops smoking, he'll disintegrate. He needs at least one vice.
It's like that engine that's being kept together by the oil.
Yeah. Keith Richards is a human jury rig. It's just tape and gum under there. The man's a walking OSHA violation. It's terrifying to look at.
Well, yeah.
How is Iggy Pop still alive?
I don't know.
How is he not starved to death?
He's got grandchildren and stuff. I mean, of course they all got grandchildren.
Iggy Pop he looks like he is about to wither away into nothing.
Potentially. I think he's changed his lifestyle as well.
He's actually started eating human food instead of...
Oh, I thought you were going to say flesh.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm getting old. I might as well try cannibalism.
I'm at that stage.
That's it. That's his version of he's gonna try
yoga.
Yeah.
Tai Chi.
I think maybe it's time for me to try. I'm at that age where I think it's time for me to try yoga. What about you, Ig? What are you doing? Oh, I'm gonna start eating people. I haven't done that before, and I feel like it's something I really wanna give it a try.
I'm not sure I'm going to murder anyone. There might be a shovel involved.
Well, not a shovel. I just need a lockpick to get into where the fresh ones are. I don't want to eat, Iggy Pop is going to turn into a Wendigo.
There you go.
That's the next. Hey, Sony, you want to make another Until Dawn game? There's your plot. Iggy Pop becomes a Wendigo. and you can instead of playing as Hayden Panettiere and Rami Malek in them, now you get to play as digital versions of like Keith Richards and
the other Stooges
other aging rock stars. Are like, what happened to Iggy? Let's go to his mountain cabin. Oh no, Iggy starved to death, or he was starving to death, and so he ate somebody, and became a Wendigo. That's the plot of the next game.
He's a Wendigo. You mean like the RV?
Yeah, like the RV.
Yeah.
He became it's the that movie Turbo Teen.
Uh-huh.
It's like that, but it's Turbo Old Man.
Turbo Old.
Where when he eats when Iggy Pop does cocaine, he turns into a recreational vehicle. Instead of when the Turbo Teen, he eats spicy food, he turns into a car. When Iggy Pop does hard drugs, he turns into a recreational vehicle.
32-foot.
That's how he tours.
Yeah, exactly. People sleep inside of him. He's gonna pull out.
But they gotta get out before the morning.
Yeah.
Because if he turns back into a human man while they're inside of him,
oh man,
that's bad.
Tragic.
You don't want that.
No.
Although then Iggy will have sustenance for the rest. That's how he's eating people. We're weaving a rich tapestry here.
Somebody write this down.
Well, I mean, we are recording it right now, so legally speaking, this is this will have a date when it comes out. So legally speaking, this will serve as a copyright.
We don't have to mail this shit to ourselves.
Yeah, this I'm pretty sure works.
All right.
As long as nobody has talked about this sort of thing before us.
That would be
about Iggy Pop being a flesh-eating recreational vehicle.
As long as that hasn't come out in someone else's talk digitally, or they've written it down somewhere.
Or they've written it down and had it published or whatever. Yeah. Then we're good. Our ideas,
they're safe. They're
safe. How the fuck did we get here?
I have no idea.
I think I think that silliness is probably about all we have time for. It's January next, so I thought, how do you feel about a gimmick for January?
Let's do a gimmick for January. What?
I don't have a cool alliterative nickname, but I think for January what I want to do is black metal albums.
Black metal January.
Because we will be deep in the grip of winter, and I feel like that is the best time to listen to black metal, is being deep in the grip of winter. So it'll be you next week.
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas what we want to start with?
You kind of sprang this on to me here.
I know. What's the first black metal album that comes to your mind?
The first black metal album that comes to my mind. It's got to be like the first thing that popped in my mind was Cradle of Filth.
Okay, is Cradle of Filth? Are they like a fusion band, or are they a straight up black metal band?
Give them a listen.
Okay, so we'll do. Do you have a specific album?
I don't know which album I would pick.
I was just say, if you want to default and torture me, we can go with Mayhem. We can go with De Mysterium, whatever, by Mayhem.
All right, let's do that.
Okay, yeah, you gave me a look there and was like, yeah, I want to torture you. So. I like the riffs. Maybe the vocals will grow on me. And we'll be the 10 millionth podcast to discuss the history of Mayhem. Yeah. The 10 millionth music podcast to talk about Mayhem. Maybe we
can just bypass that altogether.
Let's completely bypass the history of Mayhem.
Let's just talk about the music, man.
It's just about the music, not about the mythos or anything. Even though that's the only reason why anyone cares about Mayhem.
Let's talk. Let's talk about the music, man.
Let's talk about the movie The Music Man. I think I remembered something for February that I wanted to do that we can talk about later, but I think I wanted to do. We discussed Fanboy February.
Fanboy February.
I also had a different idea that I want to pitch to you.
Okay.
Female February.
Female February.
Where we only talk about bands that are either predominantly female or have female vocalists or leads or prominent female presence in the band.
Well, we're definitely doing Arch Enemy at some point in February.
Yeah. So okay, we'll do Female February.
Okay.
And then we can have some other time be non-metal albums or fanboy, just non-metal albums that we like a lot, because I want an excuse to talk about the Wonder Years and make you listen to an entire Wonder Years record.
Okay, fair enough.
So yeah, that's sort of a short roadmap for what's coming up in the next couple of months on the Bronze Metalist podcast as we go into 2019. I mean, I was just going for like you made it evil. I
always make it evil.
that's instead of you made it weird with Pete Holmes, it's you made it evil with OJ. So yeah, short roadmap for what's coming up this year. Or this next, what's coming? I might. I'll see you next year, mate.
All right.
That was a deep Auntie Donna cut.
It was Auntie Donna.
But anyway,
I might.
Yeah, we'll see you all next year. So if you barely tolerate this bullshit, it might be a good idea for you to share us on social media. It's a good way to let your friends know about you're drinking out of a glass weird, and it's distracting me. It's a good way to let your friends know. I'm just going to look you straight in the eyes. So, yeah, share us on social media. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Not on MySpace, because fuck MySpace. That's a strong stance to take.
Fuck MySpace.
Yeah, just fuck my whole space. My outer space, my inner space, really my inner space.
My personal space.
My personal space. Maybe not my personal space. No. I like that.
Yeah, you want to keep that.
But just, get into our social space on the...
social media platforms.
Yeah, on the social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And share us with your friends. You can also find links on Libsyn and probably iTunes. And you can copy those links and put it into stuff to announce to people and say, hey, I like these guys. They're fun.
Here's some sausages.
Here's some sausages. What does that have to do with
You said
anything?
there was links. I thought there was links involved.
Oh, God damn it.
All right.
Sorry. It's time. No, I'm not mad.
Okay.
I'm just disappointed.
I'm sorry.
No, you're all right. It was clever. It was clever. No, it wasn't. It was clever, OJ.
Sorry, honestly, you did. You said links are in the first thought of my mind. Yeah.
Sausage.
Yeah, links would be good about now.
I'm also hungry for sausage. I'm going to make some. I don't have any sausage, but I am going to be making some spaghetti after this.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, share us on social media. Okay, it's time for us to end this shit show once and for all. Not once and for all. We're going to be back.
We'll be back next week.
It's time to end this podcast for the year.
Yeah, we're done.
We're done for the year.
Fuck you, 2018.
Yep. That's the right energy. Fuck you, 2018. And 2019, you're probably also going to suck, but I don't want to prejudge you.
No.
But you're probably 2019, you got some big old shit-filled shoes to step into. And it's only going to get worse from there.
No, it's going to be great.
2019 is going to be good.
What could go wrong?
Well,
all going to be smooth sailing from here.
As I say, everything's going to be Alf.
Alf.
That's what's going to happen. Alf is going to come back.
Everything going to be Alf.
Alf is going to come back, and he's going to be real, and he's going to eat a lot of cats. Okay. Thank you all for listening. Thank you so much for listening to this. The first, I guess, full, in quotation marks, year of the Bronze Metalist podcast, even though there was a gap. There was a 4-month gap in there with one episode. But yeah, thank you all very much for listening. And for those of you who have listened throughout 2018, we appreciate you for all that you do or do not do. If you just listen, that's good enough for me. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.